Thanks for joining the HomeMatters Podcast with Eric and Gina Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Eric and Gina Boggs.
Well, hello. Welcome to HomeMatters.
HomeMatters Podcast.
Number 55.
55.
Double fives.
That's right.
Fives.
Mm-hmm.
We're glad you're here. And
we sure are.
we're excited about the possibility of you going to Marriage Matters Getaways with us.
Absolutely.
So,
Go get signed up. Surprise your
Are you
spouse.
going to keep talking about that?
Yeah.
I am too.
Absolutely.
We just believe it'll make a difference, not because it's us, but because we know God.
Man, so many testimonies. I know. We were talking with a couple this week that we sponsor 2 a year as a ministry. Eric and I do others for different ministries and different churches, but we actually, HomeMatters sponsors 2 a year. And a couple was telling us this week that they have never missed a year since they've been married.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
I don't remember that, but I'm glad they told us.
It's the couple that just found out they were expecting. But they've been married about 10 or 12 years.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So they've never missed one. And there's another couple that's been married, let's see, they've been married almost 25 years, and they missed their first one in February. Because their daughter got married.
Wow.
Was getting married. So anyway, I told them they can come in
All
September.
Right, we got to get moving. Marriage Matters Getaway. HomeMatters.
Sorry, I get excited about those.
HomeMatters.family. And
go check it out. September 28th to the 30th in Charleston, South Carolina.
And in saying that, there's always room for growth, right? We've been talking about.
It doesn't matter how long you've been married.
Family forward.
That's right.
Forward family.
Family forward. Just always moving and growing and not getting stuck where you are. This is the third time we've talked about this on podcast, just kind of moving through this information. So maybe go back to podcast 53, podcast 54.
This is the intro, 53.
Yep.
Because
54.
I think it's 53 that we talked about the different components, or 54.
54, we talked about the different components that help move us forward.
Lead you to growth or progress. And we learned
information,
right? We got information, exposure, attitude, persistence, and experience. No,
expectation. Wow, our brains are on the same track right
now. You
there.
don't even remember.
Huh?
You didn't remember the expectations part.
You said experience.
Oh, I did.
You said experience too.
Anyway, I just need you to keep expectations up there, baby.
And meet all your expectations.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Oh, we're never going to get through this information.
We talked about the fact that in marriage in general, you have to have that there are places that that there's room for growth.
That's right.
Challenge you to consider those places that you need to make sure that getting the right information. And,
those 5 things, though, we kind of applied to marriage, all that information, exposure, attitude, so forth. But let's apply those to parenting.
Yep.
Because, hey, kids, sometimes they're in the household, right?
Yeah.
And what happens in your home matters. So let's talk about.
And again, you talk about
the
different things in raising children. Parenting, one of the greatest needs is they need to be affirmed and nurtured and valued.
Yes.
And the Bible says they're a reward.
They are a reward.
And they really
Psalm
are.
127.
And sometimes we look at.
Somebody needs to be reminded of that.
Yeah, we look at the task of parenting, and it's tough. It's not easy.
It is a task.
Well,
It's
Dr. James Dobson said, parenting isn't for cowards.
It's the truth. Wrote a book decades ago.
That is so true. It's tough. It's work. A lot of energy, time goes into it.
And man, the whole thing here, what we're getting at is how do you keep moving forward in your parenting? Because I know Eric and I, we raised 4 children, and I know there were some days when you talk about being stalled or stuck or stopping. Yeah, you just want to stop. You just want to put up the parental timeout. The kids don't need a timeout. I need a timeout. Yeah. Like I want a parenting day off. But how many of you know that doesn't exist?
Nope.
There are no parenting days off. So how in all the things that go on do we continue to make sure that we're moving forward in our parenting?
Well, we apply those 5 areas, right? Those components. Right. And again, looking at it from that standpoint, one of the first things I think is the understanding of the need for discipline. in our with our children, and
That's
the persistence that is required, the consistency that is required.
Oh goodness, isn't it though? Good days, bad days, whether you feel like it or not. And most of the time when you're the tiredest, that's when they're going to act up the most, right?
Yeah, and we remember times where you're with them all day, and when they were small, you were stay at home, and and that's tough. I always said, man, it would have been a lot easier.
Let me just say that, Mama out there, I survived, and you can too.
It would have been a lot easier for her to go get a job than to be home with kid talk all day or baby talk.
That's what I thought. A lot of days.
I was like, thank God I don't have to do that.
Rescue
because
me.
again, that's tough. Mothers at home, or if there's a few dads at home, it's a challenge. And with that, there's that commitment that we have to keep discipline in mind, and the right kind of discipline.
That's so true. And I'm sorry, you were about to say something else.
No, I mean, the Bible's very clear on this subject, and we are living in a world today that that kind of thinks, I'll just love them through it. Mm-hmm. And usually that means, what they mean by that is we're just going to let them do whatever they want to do. And we're just going to love them just like they are. And that's the greatest mistake you can ever make. Because the Bible's clear in saying that we've got to use
There's some
discipline.
Things, all right, you better answer to, right?
Yeah. And with that, I think it's important for parents to know and understand there's a big difference. A lot of times we think of discipline only in the mode of punishment, but it's really not. Discipline is not punishment; it's correction.
Yeah, right.
It's bringing them back
on the right path,
in the path, or in line with where they're headed, or where they need to be headed. Mm-hmm. What's good for them? Right. Always say it this way: we're like God. We're always working for their good as parents, and that's hard to keep in mind.
When you talk about discipline in the aspect of always moving forward, I think it's so important to remember, Eric's already mentioned it, the consistency that it takes, the persistence that it takes. But if you're going to continue to move forward with that, it absolutely requires that consistency. Because if one time I don't respond the way I need to in discipline or correction, then I haven't moved forward with my parenting. I've moved backward. Because maybe the last time they got in trouble for it, this time they didn't.
There's nothing wrong, too, with us saying, you know what, I don't have it all together, but I'm going to grow as a parent.
Oh,
I'm going to make progress. I'm
and admitting that to your kids.
And
your kids know you mess
they
up.
Need to know
you
that.
might as well confess it to them sometime.
But again, with that, the thing of discipline is, the Bible's plain. If a man loves his kid, if he loves his children, he will discipline them.
Mm-hmm. The old word's chastise.
Yeah,
right?
and it's hard. I mean, again, mama's with them all the time, and then they feel like they're always having to discipline, and then the other end of it's daddy comes in and mama's tired, and you're the bad cop that shows up, and all of that. But we're just saying there's a persistence, a consistency that is needed and necessary.
So true, to keep us moving forward.
Yeah.
I think another thing with us moving forward is the realization that, and this is obvious, but it still needs to be said, all children are not the same. And the way I parent one child, if I'm going to keep my family moving forward, is I've got to find out what works with each child.
Yeah. And go back to another piece there. What are the expectations?
Yep, that's true.
It'd be easy for you to try to fit every child into the same. Mm-hmm. And, we always said it this way: as our kids were small, we kind of saw their potential in different areas. And we didn't try to fit all of them into the same mold.
They are not going to fit in the same mold.
You couldn't discipline them the same way.
No.
And again, where you have to learn and grow in that area. You can't even
respond to them the same way.
Yeah.
Everything was different, and
that's so true.
You just can't parent them the same. And so if we're keeping this family moving forward, child number one might have been pretty laid back, and family's good. We're all moving forward. And child number two comes and you're like, what? I mean, terrible twos from birth. I mean, terrible twos all the way through, adolescence, but it's just always a constant, pulling that child back. But if I just lay back and parent that child the way I did child number one, then as a family, we are not moving forward.
All of them need that affirmation, nurturing,
the love. Yes, absolutely.
you want to show them the ways of God, lead them in that. And, looking back, we've said this through the years that looking back at our children, every one of them showed us different areas of potential.
That's true.
And usually they'll begin to show that at a very young age.
Yep.
I told my kids when they got older, they had to make good grades because when they were young and primary school, they showed me, they revealed to us their potential that they could make good grades. So when it got to a point that it wasn't so cool to make good grades, middle school or whatever, we always had that expectation that grades would still be at a certain level. Yeah. And what we're saying is all of them are different. They have different capacities, different talents and abilities. And with that,
the truth. Yeah.
They responded to different stuff. And,
some you just look at them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We had all our children were different, and some of them were so strong-willed and some of them were not. Some of them were, some of them were tender-hearted. Some of them were not as much. And, but looking back, the primary thing that I would hope that we did was we affirmed them, that they were secure, that they were loved regardless.
Regardless, that's it.
I always use that acceptance approval thing. They know that they're accepted, that they are loved regardless.
No matter what.
They may not approve of certain things.
Even when we didn't approve, right?
May not approve of certain behaviors. That'll help this world we're living in.
It's true.
A great extent, to a great degree, if they would realize that, buddy, I don't have to approve of everything that you do for me to still love you.
Yeah. Can still love you. And, one of those components we talked about was attitude. Man, keeping the right attitude in our parenting. And that's a challenge sometimes. When you have a child that is just, can I say it this way? They are just wearing you out. It might be a little one, but it might be a teenager. And, it's just sleepless nights. It's just, they are wearing you out. But keeping the attitude that says, our best days are in front of us. And we're going to figure this thing out. We're going to get you through this stage.
Well, would
that love,
would that do us well though, to get to other people, to try to get mentored or try to get the right information?
Absolutely.
To talk to some other mother or father that's been through this already.
So true.
And again,
that's another component, just the information. And
the fact is sometimes I think we get caught there and we believe we're the only ones.
That's so true. I think that's a trick of the enemy. He just kind of gets you, or the devil himself. He gets you cornered.
There's never been another child like this.
This is the one and only, and the Lord dropped him in your house for you to
One of mine showed very early that she was different when it came to dealing with her. And man, I thought, I don't know how to handle this exactly. And just by God's grace and some help from the outside, we learned to deal with that. But it is a reality, and you really feel like you're isolated there, and you're just all alone. And it's different ages.
That's true.
As they move through different stages of life, again, you're dealing with differences.
So much so.
We had one of our children had a Jesus complex. She thought that she was Jesus to the world, and she had to fix everybody and save everybody.
And fix everybody, yeah.
And I remember those stages that we just had to go in and say, "Honey, listen,
you can't make people
you love people and you care for them, but you cannot live under the pressure and the burden of trying to save everybody."
That's right.
You're not Jesus. You're Jesus in spirit, but you're not Jesus in His ability.
Can't make them.
You're not their Savior. All you can do is make it available to them, make your love and your kindness, your generosity available to them, and kind of leave it there.
That's true.
And
so all those different things, though, the information, the exposure. Find some people, find you some people that are parenting as you are, that have kids your age, that, again, we say this all the time, that are headed in the same direction as you are. That our goal is godly, productive children that are making a difference, that are pleasant to be around. We always say that as well. And find that encouragement that you find, you know, and I encourage mothers all the time, man, you know, encourage one another. Bring somebody
And this
else
whole
along.
thing's talking about growth and progress and productivity. And again, just listen, your kid's not going to be perfect, but that you can lead them, and you can, as a parent, you can be productive.
That's right.
And that's what we're trying to encourage you to do and to find. You know, I think we're going to just kind of stay on this today and not try to finish everything that we were going to try to get to.
I'm with you.
Because we're close to being out of time. You know, I know that as parents, you know, you're shaping the next generation.
Wow. Isn't that the truth?
You know, the things that you're putting in them, the character traits, you know, dealing with their natural person that, you know, you're trying to instill in them. Let me encourage you to know this. You know, all of us want kids that are better, that have it better than we did. I know
we should, yeah.
You know, I wanted that for my children. But the fact is, I may leave them some stuff. I may leave them a great inheritance. But I want to make sure I leave them as people with a legacy of pursuing God, of having the nature and the character of God, a lot more than I want them just to be productive by society standards.
That's true.
Now, I believe they can do both, right?
Absolutely.
I do believe that. But I just, I think that we get so frustrated. And again, as parents, we've got to always realize, you know what? I may not have it all together.
And probably don't.
And I may not be everything I ought to be. But let's make sure that we're able to say, I'm not where I've seen some growth in my life.
Right.
I'm doing better as a parent than I did. You know, again, those first couple, you know, they're the guinea pigs.
That's right.
You're learning.
Trying to figure it all out.
You say, that's all we're having. But even in that, I mean, you know, you realize that you're growing through this process. And
you know, if the expectation is there and your kids know, hey, we're growing, we're moving forward, we're going to get past that, we're going to get past this. I think we said it earlier, you know, as we make those mistakes along the way, those parenting mistakes, and we will, and you will, man, own those.
Yeah.
I think it's important that our children see that, you know, we're not perfect anyway. I mean, they know we're not. Right. But if we say, hey, I messed it up, you know, we got a forgiving God, we got a gracious God, a merciful God, and we're going to get up and try this thing again. You know, maybe I had a bad attitude with you.
The 5 things of parenting, then the 5 components again, the right
moving
information.
Forward. Yeah.
Yeah, the right information, exposure, attitude, persistence, and the last one's expectations. Look at all those when it comes to parenting. Hey, we're going to finish today, but we're going to talk about romance and intimacy and sexuality, our sex life.
Moving that forward.
Yeah, and that growing. You know, your best years are not your first years.
That's right.
All of that continues to grow.
That's right. That's where we're going. Podcast 56,
we'll
right?
Next time, yeah.
Okay. We want to see you there. I also want to see you in Charleston at the Marriage Matters Getaway. So go sign up for that. One more plug. That's right.
HomeMatters.family. Don't want to miss it.
That's right.
Hey, God bless you. Hey,
Keep
mom and
moving
daddy.
Forward.
Don't give up.
That's right.
Don't give in.
Man, we're just praying God give you strength and energy right now, mom and daddy, just to keep pressing on.
You're out there and you're spent.
That's right. Man, energy to you.
Yeah.
God's blessing.
Lord. Hey, glad you're with us. See you next time.